The BS Report is a free-flowing conversation that occasionally touches on mature subjects. The BS Report. The BS Report with Bill Simmons.
Welcome to the BS Report. We are 2 days away from the 2013 ESPYs. Our host, Jon Hamm, in the BS Report studio. How are you?
I'm excellent, thank you.
9 p.m., Wednesday night, ESPN.
No.
Now, you hosted the AVN Awards in 2010.
That was not me. No, I think
that was not you?
You're probably confusing me with like Dave Attell.
No, I'm kidding. I know you didn't host the AVN Awards. At what point in your career?
I watched the AVN Awards though.
Oh, they're on all the time.
They're on like weirdly on Showtime or something, right?
A lot.
It's for a show filled with porn stars. It's maybe that's not surprising. It's not that sexy. It's sort of, you want to take a shower after you watch that thing.
At what point in your career would you have said, gone from, maybe I'd do that for the right, but to now, like 2000, like your 10th episode of Providence?
At what point would I decide I would never host the AVN Awards?
Yeah, like your 10th episode of
Probably
Providence,
like
you rule it out?
10th grade.
10th grade?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that at that point I was like, yeah, that's probably not where I want to be. I don't think I want to be in that room.
What about you were waiting tables in LA for...
The mixture of Hep C and disappointment
Hep C.
In that room? No, thanks.
You were waiting tables for like 6 years, though.
Longer than that, almost a decade. I started before I was in college. When I was like a sophomore in college, I started waiting tables, and then I did it up until I did... was through when I was working on Providence, because I didn't quit my job, because I was just a week.
You were working on Providence, or you were still waiting tables?
Yeah, totally.
How did that work?
I just would try to get around my schedule because I'd only shoot a couple days a week, maybe.
Yeah.
And
so you get somebody to cover your shifts?
Yeah. But I was working downtown. I was actually working right up the street, weirdly enough, from the Nokia Center and all that stuff at a restaurant that's no longer there called Ciudad on 5th and Figueroa.
Ciudad.
And parking across the 110 in a parking lot that is now connected to LA Center Studios where I shoot Mad Men.
Interesting.
How about that?
Well, I think we covered this a little bit the last time we did the podcast, but I don't care. I'm going to do it again. So you move out here in 95.
Yes.
You were living with 4 buddies.
Yes.
Where are you living?
Beautiful downtown Silver Lake.
Okay. You were trying to be an actor, along with about a million other people at that time. Swingers comes out, I'm going to say 96.
Yeah, right in there. Sweet spot.
Made by struggling actors.
Yes.
And that's kind of like the life you're living at the time a little bit, right?
It's certainly the neighborhood I was living in.
Yeah.
As Los Feliz and Silver Lake were heavily featured in that movie.
Right.
As were, the Dresden and the Derby and all those places that are, Dresden's still there, the Derby's not. But that was kind of like, and we'd see those guys, Favreau and Vince and around.
And then Damon and Affleck were out here. I mean, they were doing a little bit better.
Well, they kind of crushed it out of the box. I mean, they had a little more of a rapid rise. But Matt, I think, because I talked to Ben about this when we were doing The Town, I think they were crashing on a couch in Silver Lake and had some crappy car that barely worked and was borrowing money from anyone he could.
Right.
But yeah, then Ben did. What was the Austin movie Rick Linklater had made? Dazed and Confused.
Yeah, Dazed and Confused, right.
And we had some mutual friends on that. So we kind of were in each other's sphere weirdly in that time frame as well. And then he blew up and became a gigantic movie.
Who else blew up that you knew from that era?
Well, Rudd, but he was
he was your buddy,
He was
though.
a big deal. Yeah, but he was a big deal kind of even before I got out here. I came and visited Paul right... It was like 91 or 2, and they were living in North Hollywood in some garbage apartment. Like the best thing in the neighborhood was like a Pollo Loco. And it was just awful. Yeah, it was one of those things that was like built in the 70s with walls that you could probably push through if you wanted to.
Right.
And he was living there with 3 other dudes, and 2 of whom I knew. And when I came out on my spring break junior year in college, that's where I stayed. And I was like, okay, I can get my head around like living out here. We went to like Yankee Doodles on the 3rd Street Promenade. That was our big Saturday night out.
Yeah.
Man.
So he made Clueless like I'm going to say 94.
Yeah, it was before that. He was doing like the big thing that he got, in fact, when I was out here, was a Nintendo ad. That was a big get.
So that probably convinced you a little bit maybe to move out here, right? You had a friend who was doing well.
I had a friend in the biz.
Yeah.
I had one person that I could call, and I was like, all right, well, at least I have an in.
Yeah.
I have the doors open a crack. And that was what happened when I came out here. I called my one person that I knew in the business. And I had an aunt and uncle that lived out here. My mother's younger sister and her husband lived out here. So I had a place to stay, like a crash pad for a little bit, in a car.
Yeah.
And no money. But at least I had a place to live and wheels. And and one phone call I could make.
I remember it wasn't on a podcast, but we were talking about this, and you were going on all these auditions, and you were like, I think we're the same age, or you're like a year younger than me.
I'm
you're
42.
probably like,
71.
So you're going in these auditions, and people are telling you look too old.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I was just always one of those kids that like either looked old or had a beer or whatever it was. Like I was the kid that was like, you're going to buy beer,
right?
In high school, where I'm like, that's not a great job, by the way, guys. Like I'm the one that takes the fall.
Beer gopher.
Yeah. You collect all the money, and then whatever you don't spend, thanks very much. That's the cost of doing business.
Like $3 extra.
Yeah. Which, when you're 17.
Yeah. That's like it was 45.
It's half a tank of gas.
Right.
But yeah, so I was the guy that kind of was supposed to handle all that. And I don't know what it was. Maybe it's just my like attitude or whatever, that I was always sort of seemed older than I was. And when I came out here, that was like, bam, in the middle of like the Dawson's Creek era, or the like, whatever it was, the CW or the WB, whatever.
I call it the Glory Years.
It was when TV got it right.
Oh yeah.
So I was kind of like, I was unhireable because I didn't look like I was in high school at all.
And you're like, haven't you guys seen Ian Ziering?
Yeah.
He's like 35, he's in college. Come on.
But he had red hair, I don't know, it's a different thing. So yeah, I was just kind of like, well, all right. And I got a lot of people actually, to their credit, were just kind of like, you know what? You're one of those guys it's just not the time for yet. A lot of casting directors.
So you're telling yourselves that at 2 in the morning as you're waiting
what
tables.
Else are you gonna tell you?
It's going to be my time.
What else are you going to tell yourself?
And
by the way, I wasn't stupid about it. I was like, look, if I'm 30 and I'm still doing this, I'm still waiting tables. I'm pulling the ripcord. I'll go back to Missouri. I'll go back home. I'll teach. I'll do something. I will have given it a shot. I didn't want to be 30 and still living in Missouri and never having given it a shot. Because that way lies crazy regret, and why wouldn't you just give it a try? But if I was also not deluded about it, and so I was just like, okay, look, I'm gonna give this my best shot, and if it doesn't play out, it doesn't play out. Move on.
Well, what's interesting is, and I've been in LA for 11 and a half years. So many people move out here to get into the business, and only a few of them make it.
Right.
And especially with actors and actresses, they'll be, 37, 38, still trying to get that one break.
The weird dyed hair and
it's
like you're not 30
now you have
anymore.
2 kids, you have a wife, and it's like at what point do you kind of pull the parachute plug?
That's what I mean.
Get out.
And because it's a pretty slippery slope down to like Dennis Woodruff land.
Right.
Where you're driving around in a car covered in your own headshots and you're still living, quote unquote, living the dream.
Trying to make
a very
it.
Good dream.
But what's interesting is you made it, about as late as it can happen considering how much time you put into it.
Yeah.
But now you've become the guy people point to as like, well, I waited 7 years, but Hamm got Mad Men. He was here for 11 years before he got his break.
I was here for 3 years before I got my break.
What do you mean?
I was Mad Men, but that's kind of an epic.
Oh yeah, that's the end of the road break.
Jump.
Right. But for people who are dreaming to become a star, they're like, here's how many years he put in.
Yeah, that was really never my dream though. My thing was like, I just want to steadily work in the business to where I can pay my bills.
Yeah.
Go out to eat every now and again. Not have college loans or credit card debt.
Right.
Just kind of live a life. Because it's kind of fun out here. You may or may not think so. You're an East Coast guy. Like,
I've been here 11 and a half years, so obviously I agree.
Yeah, it's kind of nice. It's nice to be. I just got back from Atlanta, and I was like, wow, I forgot how green like the South is. And it really reminded me of St. Louis. And I haven't been back to St. Louis in a long time, but I was like, wow, I forgot.
Yeah.
Like also like it was muggy and hot and like total like rainy, but it was also super green. And I was like, this doesn't look like LA. This looks like Atlanta. This looks like St. Louis. It looks like kind of just that different part of America. So you forget about that too and how much you miss it. But I like it out here. I like it not raining. I
like having weather control.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. It's probably
like when you make a plan, you're like, you know what, let's have a barbecue. Come on over to the house, everybody come. It's not going to rain.
Right.
There will be no just in case.
But also, you're famous enough now that you really, New York and LA.
Call a guy and say no rain.
No, but New York and LA are probably the two cities that, where you're not going to be bothered that much. You can just kind of live your life and go to restaurants and not have 100 people come up to you.
It's not too bad. I mean, honestly, though, like even St. Louis, Atlanta, people are pretty polite. I mean, there's no real place where people are aggressively mean or sort of like mean's the wrong word, but like intrusive. I don't think that's the case.
What was your Boston experience like?
Boston was fantastic. Because I was there for the town. Were
they like, hey, Draper, Draper?
No, they weren't that bad. Because that was a few years ago now.
Yeah. It was like 09, right?
09, 08, somewhere in there. So Mad Men I think we just finished season 3. So it had only been on the air for 2 seasons. So the impact wasn't quite as full as it is now because I was just back there doing the Larry David movie, Clear History.
You did that in Boston?
Yeah, well, yeah, the North Shore. Oh. Gloucester and up there. But I was staying in Boston. And the recognition factor had gone up a little bit because when I was shooting the town, I would literally go walk around. We were shooting right by the Common.
Yeah.
And I would just walk to dinner every night in a different place because there's pretty great restaurants in Boston and sit at the bar by myself and watch whatever baseball game or football game was on and eat dinner and have a conversation with the bartender and no one would recognize, no one would care.
But everyone in New England saw the town.
Yes.
That's what changed for you.
Yeah. And then I can't really do that anymore.
On the short list of great Boston movies.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
very rewatchable on cable. It's another one you can jump in at any point of the movie.
I have actually done that. And I really enjoyed that movie. I thought Ben did a fantastic job with it. He's an incredibly talented. He's going to be on the show
on the ESPYs.
On the ESPYs on Wednesday. Tune in for that. It'll be nice. Haven't seen him in a while.
When you were doing the town with him, he had made Gone Baby Gone. Was still in the middle of the comeback. Was leaning toward directing more, but it wasn't like what it is now, where he became this just massive comeback, awesome success story. But
the great thing about that was Warner Brothers kind of championed him. Yeah. Gone Baby Gone, which I thought was an excellent film, didn't really do a big splash at the box office.
Critically acclaimed.
Critically acclaimed, and people, I think people. Moviegoers, I think, also recognized like, oh, hey, they kind of sat up a little and took notice. And then the second time out, that movie, The Town, way overperformed. No one thought that was going to make $100 million. They were kind of like, yeah, if it makes its money back, that'll be nice. Way overperformed. And also, again, critically acclaimed, rightfully so. And my experience working on it was with just watching Ben and then having, watching Jennifer, my girlfriend, write and direct and star in a film. I know how hard that is.
Yeah.
I know how much time that takes up. And Ben could not have been a more sort of diligent, hardworking, also smart, funny, approachable, nice. And in Boston on location, that guy gets recognized.
Right.
He's 6'4", like he stands out. Everyone knows him. Everyone feels like, because it's Boston, they feel like He made it. He's approachable. You can go up and have a 20-minute conversation with him if you'd like.
He's got the Red Sox connection.
Big time. So it was a difficult job for him, which I recognized, and he pulled it off like a champ. And then Argo is the third time's a charm, and there you go. Now he's got carte blanche. But the people at Warner's, and Ben says this, they're the people that really gave him, kind of his shot at this. Because it's not a little thing for a studio to say, hey, first-time guy, go direct this movie.
Right.
That's a big deal.
It's an amazing rise, fall, rise.
Well, the fall wasn't even really kind of,
Yeah, he had made like $200 million.
The fall years were like the ones where,
yeah,
I know. It wasn't like he was destitute and eating out of dumpsters.
But I think professionally, the feeling was like, oh, that guy had it. He screwed it up, and now it's not going to happen. And it's just funny how
the other thing is like, and you kind of realize this. He was in his 20s.
Yes.
And surrounded by
everything.
Excess.
Yeah.
So, if I put myself in that situation, I didn't make the best decisions of my life in my 20s, and I wasn't surrounded by all the money in the world, all the opportunities in the world, and 1,000 people taking pictures of everything I do.
Your Johnny Manziel's family made this same case last week. Now, William Goldman was one of the most famous screenwriters. He has a great theory on this about the right and the wrong time to become famous. And he always said the people that he felt like were the best adjusted to it were people when it happened later.
I think it's always
Clint Eastwood and Paul Newman. He thought were the two most normal people that were super famous that he'd met. And
I think the best time to become famous is the 60s and 70s, honestly, because there were no cell phones and there were no Twitter and there was no.
Oh, you're talking about eras. Yeah.
But no, I would absolutely agree with that. I think part of it is just like being comfortable in your own skin and your own life. I mean, once sort of this crazy celebrity happens, you just have hundreds of people and asks and requests and people that want something or demand something or feel they're owed something. And when you're comfortable in your own kind of place in the world or your own life, then you're comfortable kind of saying no respectfully. Right. And you're also just kind of comfortable with like what you need and what you don't need. I think the case could be made, for example, with Ben, that you feel like you've got to grab everything all at once, whether it's movies or talk shows or pitching products or whatever. So you're not really comfortable saying, maybe I'll take one, I won't take 10.
Right.
And you extrapolate that out into everything else. And I think that's kind of how adults live their life, most adults, instead of, dumb kids.
There's also a weird herd mentality where people take a piece of something, they pile on. We even saw it with the Lone Ranger. Like, I haven't seen Lone Ranger. I don't know if it's bad or good, but once there's blood in the water, the sharks come out and it becomes a whole other animal.
And then the conventional wisdom becomes like, and that's kind of the world we live in today. Weirdly, it's nothing can be good. Everything has to be either the best in the world or the worst thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Or extremes. The most hilarious thing, because it's all there's so much noise in the sort of media culture.
Yeah.
That you're not going to click on something that says, "Hey, it's a good movie. You should check it out. It's got some good stuff. It's not terrible. I don't know. I liked it." Unless you're only going to click on it, it's like, this is the funniest thing you've ever seen.
Right.
The Heat is the most hilarious movie of the last 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what if it's just kind of okay? Like, that's cool too. Like, I like Melissa McCarthy. I like Sandra Bullock. Like, but it doesn't have to be like the movie that's going to make you rip your balls off and throw them at the screen because it's so funny. Like, what? No.
Best female comedy ever.
Yeah, I'm like, okay. What does that
mean? You guys deal with that with Mad Men. I mean, it's
and
every
it's
time a
like,
season starts, it becomes
and then you get the inevitable backlash because not everybody obviously thinks it's the best. And so it's like, okay, well, fine. But did you like it? It doesn't have to be the best for you to like it. You can say like, oh yeah, I liked it.
You pay attention to that stuff? You read like, I mean,
I read. Here's what I read.
Recapped like ridiculous.
We
have 2 recaps on Grantland on Mondays.
I do read Grantland. And I read, there's a couple writers that I read because I like their writing. Alan Sepinwall, who used to write for the Star Ledger in New York.
That's our dude. He's a friend of Grantland.
Hit Fix, I think. Or
yeah, Hit Fix.
Maureen Ryan, who was also used to be for the Chicago Tribune. All these great writers used to be for newspapers, and now there are no such thing anymore.
Right.
Tim Goodman. I read like a lot of the good writers because I appreciate their takes positively and negatively. And all 3 of those writers have gone through kind of periods where they haven't liked the show as much or whatever. And I'm like, okay, I don't write the show, so it doesn't necessarily reflect poorly on me. but I do appreciate people taking the time to kind of like sit with it and put pen to paper or finger to keyboard and compose something that's not like or snarky or stupid on a gossip website. So
it's really thoughtfully.
People spend time with it. I mean, and that's how I process the things that I like on television. Like I sat and watched The Wire in about 2 weeks because I missed it when I was on TV.
Right.
And I binge watched that thing over the space of 2 weeks. I was on location shooting a movie by myself. I was like, this is the perfect time. I've got nothing but time. And I am going to savor this thing. And I loved it. I watched The Sopranos as it aired. I watched Breaking Bad as it airs. What was the last one I've done? Deadwood, my most recent.
Binge watched?
Completely missed it. Was like, why did I not watch? I like Tim Oliphant. He's a friend. I like John Hawkes. I like Ian McShane. I like everybody in this. I like David Milch. How did I miss this?
So you're saying I should binge watch that one?
Yeah. Loved it.
I banged out Breaking Bad during the NBA playoffs, especially because it was on the road. I'd been saving it, kind of like the bottle of wine in the corner. It's great.
Are you caught up?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty great.
It was great.
And it's going to end, and it's going to be amazing.
It was great. I was wondering, like, with the binge watch versus watching it in regular time, Cranston goes dark, pretty noticeably when you're watching 4 seasons in 2 weeks. Sorry, spoiler alert, but at this point,
it's been out there long enough.
But I was like, over the course of like 4 years, it wouldn't have felt so sudden.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
That's true.
He's almost becomes a psychopath by season 4, and you're like, wow, this was fast. But it was fast because I was watching 3 a night for 2 weeks.
And I think it's on purpose. I think that's clearly what Vince wants to do with that character. He said it the first season. He says, I want to see what happens when Mr. Chips turns into Scarface.
Right.
And it's like, okay, I'm buying that series. And you cast like one of the most, unbelievably compelling actors of our time. And a guy who's only known for being dumb old dad.
Yeah.
Or the funny dentist on Seinfeld. And you go, holy this guy's good. And everybody knew that, but he just never had the opportunity to show it. It's amazing. Friday Night Lights, another one I watched.
Binge watch?
Yeah.
It's a great one.
It's pretty good. I mean, I played football in high school. So high school football and me, it's like dead moms. Immediately emotional response. I'm just like, okay, you got me. You got me. I can't watch Terms of Endearment or a high school football movie without tearing up. That's just how it works.
Matthew Weiner and a lot of the shows we just talked about were all one person. Even Jason Katims took over Friday Night Lights for the most part.
Yeah.
Peter Berg was involved in the first season, but then stepped back.
Pete was involved kind of in the look of it.
Yeah. Which I think is a really interesting part of TV, is that in movies, a lot of the times it's bullpen by committee. It's notes. It's more notes.
Well, it's interesting because
tough to get that creative
I think
holdover.
It's become that in movies.
Yeah.
I think it used to be, if you look at the 60s and 70s, the kind of like that era that made a lot of pretty cool movies.
Yeah, it was 1 or 2 people.
It was 1 or 2 people. You had way more of the kind of auteur sense of Coppola's going to go and do his thing. Let's
stay out of his way.
Let's let him do it.
Right.
For the craziness that we're going to engender because of this, we're still going to probably get something pretty great.
Right.
William Friedkin's going to go do his thing. There may be mountains of cocaine and insanity involved, but we might get something pretty special out of it. And it's kind of fill in the blank, Peter Bogdanovich or whoever it is in that era. And then, the 80s happened and it just became like corporatized and people fell out of favor with that. It was far more like you had to be a slave to the bottom line, and they just weren't going to do that method of movie making anymore. I think now TV was much more the other way.
It flipped,
and the whole thing just kind of traded places.
I had Wesley Morris on. He's our film critic on Grantland. We were talking last week about summer movies and just how depressing the whole scene was, and we were talking about movies that we liked from the 70s and 80s. What would happen to them now if like you took the guy out of the time machine? So like James L. Brooks and he wants to make broadcast news.
Right.
And he's like, just leave me alone. I got this. And they're like, no. Actually, that's not how
it works.
You know, and he was a guy that started in TV and graduated to films because that's what you did. Yeah. Now it almost seems like if you want your creative Jones, you would go the other way. You'd want to stay in TV and create a show and just everybody box out and leave alone.
I think it's, I just think it's the nature of the beast, honestly. You can do it. You can do TV for obviously for less money than a feature. So the pressure's not there. There's a way economically to, kind of make your money back way easier in TV. There's way more kind of streams to get revenue back in TV than film. And it's just, honestly, it's like, it's a different way of telling a story. I say we, but I have really no creative skin in the game. But on Mad Men, we basically try to make a 13-hour movie every year.
Yep.
And some people that doesn't do it for them. They don't like that narrative arc that is a season long. I know Vince does it on Breaking Bad as well. I mean, it's David Chase did it on The Sopranos. Obviously, David Simon did it on The Wire. I mean, each of those seasons were kind of this amazing film. But some people, they want that kind of Law and Order approach. They want a full story every hour to wrap up.
Connected. Yeah.
And they want that kind of 1 hour bite and then they're out. But it's nice that we have both of those. If you want that, tune in. If you want this, tune into that.
Did you, when you started doing this show, I mean, obviously your first goal was, I hope this stays on. Second goal was, I'd like to have a nice run, but did you have any idea it's going to go 7 years?
Oh, no. Absolutely not.
Do you think he knew?
No. I'm sure he didn't think it either. I mean, you have to remember at the time, 2005, when we made the pilot, the reason we were able to make the pilot was that the HBO took the last season of Sopranos and broke it in two, which is now what everybody does for the last season. It's what they're doing with Breaking Bad. It's what they do with Harry Potter. It's what they do with Twilight. Like the last installment, they're like, break it in two because then we can charge twice.
Right.
Which is what it is. But so HBO did that with Sopranos. So Matt and the whole kind of crew of The Sopranos had this time off. And he asked them, would you make my pilot? So we had the whole crew from The Sopranos, the grips, the electric, the camera crew, the whole
Just took the whole band?
The whole, moved it over one stage.
Yeah.
And did this show that honestly nobody thought we were going to see that would ever be on the air.
So it's like a passion project. He had the pilot.
Yeah.
And then he's just hoping it gets made.
Yeah. And so AMC was going to do it. They had no record in series television. Yeah. They had a show called Remember When that was like a Jason Alexander was on it. I don't even remember.
You know what the record
40s
was?
Radio show.
The record was Few Good Men and Rocky Marathons.
But the one thing that they did do that kind of made a splash right before Mad Men was a miniseries called Broken Trail with Robert Duvall and I want to say Thomas Hayden Church.
Yeah.
But I may be wrong about Thomas Hayden Church. But it was a big success. People were like, whoa. AMC, like who knew? Original programming.
Turns out a lot of people have that channel.
Walter Hill directed it.
Oh, 48 Hours, Warriors fame. Wow.
And so they kind of were like, oh, wait, what's this all about? So there was a glimmer of something there. But no one thought, honestly, that we would get on the air. It took a year because Matt had to go back to Sopranos. It took a year to get picked up from pilot to series. And then it took another year to get on the air, basically.
So what were you doing during those 2 years?
I did a show called The Unit. I did 6 episodes of The Unit.
The Haysbert show?
Yep.
Oh, my dad loved
Robert
that
Patrick,
show. Yeah.
fellow St. Louis and Scott Foley.
You get shot, shoot people?
No, I was David Mamet directed the first episode of like the 6 episodes I did. And I was like kind of a erudite, mouthy, kind of instigatory college professor who ends up having an affair with one of the wives of the guys in the unit.
Oh, you don't do that.
Well, I did.
It's a bad mistake. You don't mess with the unit.
Yeah, it was destined to end poorly.
Come on, Professor.
But I actually on that small arc worked with a young actress named Zasha Mamet, David's.
Interesting. From Girls.
And from Mad Men. So
that's right.
Full circle again. So that's what I did. And I remember telling those guys, I'm like, yeah, I'm doing this show. I don't know if it's going to get picked up, whatever. Just kind of, shooting on set.
So when you did the pilot, were you thinking like...
Well, I remember thinking like...
This is good? Or were you like, whoa,
it.
this is good?
I mean, I really liked it. And I was really proud of it. And I thought it had an outside shot at being something special.
Mm.
I mean, I just kind of believed in everybody that was on it, and it really felt like it just felt different. And when you're around, kind of working in television long enough, which by that point I was, I'd been on failed pilots and been a guest star and been a regular and been on networks and basic cable and kind of everything in between. I was like, the only thing you really want is something to be kind of different or special, and I felt like we definitely had that.
How did your girlfriend handle the whole January Jones thing?
Fine. It was...
My wife wouldn't handle it well. It's like, really? You're going to be fake married to her?
It was fine. It's fine. It is fine. January's a friend.
Big comeback season for her.
Big comeback season.
Shed the fat suit.
Yeah.
The greatest moment in 2013.
Lost a lot of latex.
Unbelievable.
In 2013. Season 6, the year the latex went away.
She must have been delighted.
She was very happy. In fact, the first one I directed was the first one she was in all that mess, and she was 8 months pregnant.
Yeah.
And it could not have been a pleasant experience to not only be 8 months pregnant, so all of the uncomfortable experience that is, but then to sit in a chair for 4 hours and have that stuff glued to you. She was a champ, I got to say. She was fantastic in dealing with it, and is a friend and is a friend of the family, so it's fine.
How many have you directed?
2.
Did you like it?
One season 5, one season 6. I did like it. It's a completely different experience. I mean, it's like for someone who myself considers I know this show.
Yeah.
Then you get behind the camera and you start directing and you go, well, I don't know anything. Like, I don't know anything about what really goes on, right. How much work. That's the one thing I guess I took away from it was the incredible talent and hard work that goes in before we even see the set. Like, these guys are putting sets up, building sets, shifting sets, designing sets, and way before the actors even show up. So it's something that you probably should know, but it was something to actually, when you watch it happen, you go, oh wow.
I guess we have to wrap up. We didn't really talk about the ESPYs. Probably should have.
Well, we mentioned it at the top.
Yeah.
Wednesday.
You're looking forward to it. Big stage. Live show.
Have not hosted other than SNL. I haven't hosted an award show.
Well, I told this to you beforehand. You've done 3 SNLs. It's not going to be more nerve-wracking than that.
It probably won't. We're gonna have some friends there that are gonna drop by and do some funny stuff. So I'm looking forward to it. I love, as you know, I love sports.
We've been in
love athletes.
How many years in a row have we been in the fantasy football league? It's been at least 5
not
or
in
6.
a row.
Because you got voted out.
I was booted.
That was terrible.
I was actually kind of hilarious.
It was really funny now.
Well, no, because I was rushing. I was rushing from work, from Mad Men.
We held the draft for an hour. You show up and you get voted off immediately.
Immediately booted.
Do you like the vote off rule? Because I hate it. I'm morally against it, but I'm in the minority.
I think it's kind of great, especially the way we do it, which is with maximum pain intended.
Well,
or annoyance, I guess.
For a little bonus clip, just for our YouTube channel, we're gonna watch last year's guy who got voted out, Brad. There's video. We're gonna watch that and break it down. Right. So you have to go to our YouTube channel, the Grayland channel. The ESPYs 9 p.m. Wednesday. I don't want to spoil it. Some good bits.
Good stuff.
I'm excited for the monologue.
It'll be fun. It'll be fun and funny, and it'll be 2 hours of your life that you'll never get back.
Parties are good.
Are you coming? I want to see you there.
I will be there.
Excellent.
All right. Good luck.
Thanks, man.
So I get to sign off. Whoa.
Thank you for downloading the BS Report with Bill Simmons.
Too much fun.
Check out more podcasts at the iTunes Music Store or at Pod Center at ESPNradio.com.
Peace out.